This is actually quite traumatic for me because I created issues because of this.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The Harry Potter cast has been holding back. For decades, they gave us the polished, studio-approved stories. But now, the truth is coming out. We're talking about the real reason one beloved character was completely cut from the films, the shocking unscripted punch that made it into the final cut, and the secret knowledge Alan Rickman used to shape his performance for 10 years. These are the revelations that fans were never meant to discover, and they paint a picture of the wizarding world that is far more dramatic than anyone ever imagined. What only one actor knew. For an entire decade, millions of people were locked in a massive global debate. Was Severus Snape good or evil? It was, to put it mildly, the central mystery of the entire story. Fans wrote thousands of essays and forums buzzed with theories. But here's the crazy part. One person on set knew the answer all along. Alan Rickman, the man who brought Snape to life, was the only person in the world, besides J.K. Rowling, who knew the character's true fate and motivation. You see, before filming The Sorcerer's Stone, Rickman was hesitant to take on what looked like a simple one-note villain role in a children's movie. To convince him, J.K. Rowling pulled him aside and gave him one tiny, crucial piece of information. She revealed the meaning behind the word always. She told him about Snape's undying love for Lily Potter, Harry's mother. This secret knowledge completely changed how he played the part for the next 10 years. What many overlooked is that Rickman was carrying the biggest spoiler in entertainment history. He had to keep that secret from everyone, from the other actors, from the directors, and from the press. When directors would give him notes on a scene, telling him to be angrier or more sneering, Rickman would sometimes refuse, quietly stating, "I know something you don't." Think about that. Every time you watch those films, every long, dramatic pause, every flicker of emotion you thought you saw behind Snape's cold eyes, that was real. That was Rickman layering in a decade's worth of sadness and conflict that only he understood. Daniel Radcliffe later admitted that as a kid, he just thought Rickman was being difficult. Only after the final book was released did he realize Rickman had been playing a completely different character, a tragic hero, right under their noses. But Rickman wasn't the only one dealing with unscripted drama. The thing nobody tells you is that the set was a hotbed of real-life events that shaped the films. Take the actor Rick Mayall. He was cast as Peeves the Poltergeist, a fan-favorite character from the books. He filmed all of his scenes for the first movie, but there was a problem. He was too funny. Every time he was on set, the young actors Daniel, Rupert, and Emma would burst out laughing and couldn't get through a take. His performance was so hysterically funny that it was ruining the shooting schedule. In the end, director Chris Columbus had to make the tough call and cut him entirely, leaving Peeves on the cutting room floor forever. And then there was the real-life danger. While filming the second task in Goblet of Fire, Daniel Radcliffe had a terrifying moment. During the complex underwater sequence, he was using scuba gear. He mistakenly gave the "I'm fine" signal, but it was misinterpreted by the safety divers as the signal for "I'm out of air." They instantly panicked and rushed to pull him to the surface, thinking he was in serious trouble. For a few moments, there was sheer panic. It gets even more intense. During the filming of the final battle in Deathly Hallows, Part 2, the crew was staging the massive destruction of Hogwarts. A pyrotechnic effect, a planned explosion, went horribly wrong. It sparked a massive blaze that completely engulfed a huge section of the expensive Hogwarts castle set. More than 100 crew members had to scramble to contain the fire. It caused hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage and nearly halted production. The magic on screen was often covering up some very real-world chaos. But not all the secrets were dangerous. Some were just deeply personal. Draco and Hermione's real story. You see, while fans were busy shipping characters on screen, a totally different story was playing out behind the scenes. For years, the tension between Hermione Granger and Draco Malfoy was something you could cut with a knife. But what fans were never meant to discover was the real-life emotion fueling those scenes. Emma Watson has now openly admitted that she had a massive crush on Tom Felton during the first few films. "He was my first crush," she said. She would apparently check the call sheet every morning, and if his name was on it, it was an extra exciting day. Tom, being a few years older, knew about it and treated her like a little sister. But think about that. Every single time Hermione and Draco are spitting venom at each other, every time she calls him a foul, loathsome, evil little cockroach, Emma was secretly crushing on him. Talk about awkward. This hidden dynamic adds a whole new layer to their on-screen hatred. But that's not all. Their most iconic scene together had a shocking, unscripted secret. Remember that amazing moment in Prisoner of Azkaban when Hermione finally stands up to Draco and punches him in the face? Well, the script said she was supposed to slap him. They did a few takes of the slap, but director Alfonso Cuarón felt it wasn't strong enough. He told Emma to just, pretend to hit him. Emma, caught up in the moment and channeling all of Hermione's frustration, actually connected and punched Tom square in the face. Tom was so stunned he completely forgot his next line. That look of pure shock on Draco's face, that's not acting. That's Tom Felton thinking, wow, she has a really strong hook. That's the take they used in the final movie. This kind of improvisation became a running theme, and many of the most loved character quirks were total accidents. Harry's famous signature glasses push? That wasn't a character choice. Daniel Radcliffe said the prop glasses they gave him on the first film kept slipping down his nose, so he just kept pushing them up. It became such a habit that it stuck for all 8 films, becoming an iconic part of Harry himself. And Ron Weasley's nervous giggle? That was just Rupert Grint. The directors loved it so much they started writing it into the script, telling him to do that Rupert thing. Even Dumbledore's weird stories were improvised. In Goblet of Fire, Michael Gambon ad-libbed a whole strange line about loving knitting patterns, which made Daniel Radcliffe crack up on camera. These little human moments, the ones that weren't on the page, are what made the characters feel so real. But this real-life pressure wasn't always funny or charming. The stunt that went wrong. What many overlooked is that these weren't just actors, they were children who were becoming the most famous people on Earth overnight. And that kind of fame comes with a price. The cast has now revealed the immense pressure they were under, pressure fans were never meant to see. Daniel Radcliffe, the boy who was Harry Potter, has been incredibly open about his struggles. He admitted that as a teenager he felt an enormous, crushing pressure to be perfect. Can I even carry this? He wondered. He was just 11 years old when he was cast, and suddenly the hopes of millions of kids and the weight of a multi-billion-dollar franchise rested on his shoulders. This pressure led him to struggle with his identity and rely on alcohol during the filming of the later movies just to cope with the fame. Emma Watson faced a similar battle. She was the face of Hermione, a character who was a role model for millions of smart, capable girls. Emma felt she had to be Hermione. This led to a kind of perfectionism that nearly made her quit. She has confessed that she worried constantly about whether she was good enough for the part and that the pressure to be a perfect role model was, at times, overwhelming. And what about Rupert Grint? He was part of the Golden Trio, but he often felt like the overlooked one. He confessed that he often felt overshadowed by his co-stars, worrying that Ron was seen as just the funny sidekick. He admitted that for a while he felt like he was Ron, and he wasn't sure who he was without the character. It was a strange, isolating experience to grow up in a bubble where your entire identity was tied to a fictional character. But the dark side of the magic wasn't just mental, it was physical. The thing nobody wants to talk about is the real danger on set. In 2009, during a rehearsal for Deathly Hallows Part 1, Daniel Radcliffe's longtime stunt double, David Holmes, was performing a complex flying stunt. He was practicing a jerk-back scene meant to simulate the force of an explosion. A planned effect went terribly wrong. He was thrown into a wall at high speed, suffering a life-altering injury to his spine. It was a devastating, sobering moment for the entire cast and crew. It was a reminder that the magic they were creating had very real, very high stakes. This intense reality was a huge change from the magic the director first planned. The magic behind the magic. So are we missing other key details? The thing is, the cast weren't the only ones keeping secrets. J.K. Rowling herself was planting clues in the story that fans wouldn't understand for years. Across 7 books and a decade of films, she was playing the long game, crafting a decade-long conspiracy of details, and most of us caught up in the magic and adventure missed it completely. Take the character names. They aren't just quirky, Dickensian labels, they're dead giveaways. The name Remus Lupin is a perfect example, so perfect it's almost arrogant. Remus is a direct reference to the Roman myth of Romulus and Remus, the twin brothers who were famously raised by a she-wolf. If that wasn't enough, Lupin comes from the Latin word lupus, which means wolf. She literally told us he was a werewolf the first time he was introduced in Prisoner of Azkaban. And Sirius Black, his name is Sirius, which is the name of the brightest star in the sky, also known as the Dogstone. It's located in the constellation Canis Major, the Great Dog. She was telling us his animagus form from the very beginning. This wasn't a one-off. Draco is Latin for dragon or serpent, hammering home his Slytherin ties. Malfoy is derived from the Old French malfoi, meaning bad faith. And the big one? Voldemort itself translates from the French vol de mort, or flight of death. She told us his entire philosophy before we ever truly met him. But her biggest secrets were hidden in the plot, woven into the very fabric of the narrative. In Chamber of Secrets, we all just thought Tom Riddle's diary was a creepy, dark object. It was a clever device to reveal the past, but we had no idea what it truly was. It wasn't until Half-Blood Prince, 4 books and many years later, that Dumbledore finally explains the concept of a Horcrux, a piece of a wizard's soul hidden in an object to grant immortality. That diary was the very first Horcrux Harry ever encountered and destroyed. Rowling laid the groundwork for the entire series' climax in the second book, and we all read right past it. It gets even better. In Order of the Phoenix, while cleaning 12 Grimmauld Place, the text mentions them finding a heavy locket that none of them could open. They toss it in a trash bag. It's a throwaway line in a chapter full of cleaning. That locket, discarded as junk, was the actual Slytherin's locket Horcrux, which they would later spend months risking their lives to find. And then there are the Deathly Hallows. We thought the invisibility cloak was just a rare, useful item. We had no idea it was the invisibility cloak. We saw Dumbledore's wand, but we had no idea it was the Elder Wand. We saw the Gaunt Ring, but we didn't know the stone set in it was the Resurrection Stone. The 3 most powerful objects in the wizarding world were right under our noses for almost the entire series, disguised as a family heirloom, the headmaster's wand, and a broken piece of jewelry. The film directors got in on the act too. They loved hiding tiny details or Easter eggs that you would only catch on your 10th rewatch. In Prisoner of Azkaban, director Alfonso Cuarón filled the movie with them. When Fred and George give Harry the Marauder's map, look closely. As the footsteps wander around the castle, you can see a tiny set of footprints labeled Peter Pettigrew long before he's revealed as Scabbers. He was hiding in plain sight. In another scene on the map, you can even spot 2 sets of footprints in a corner facing each other, implying 2 students were secretly kissing. In Chamber of Secrets, when Harry first enters Dumbledore's office, the camera pans past a shelf. Sitting right there, plain as day, is the Sword of Gryffindor, the very sword that would later appear in the Sorting Hat to help him defeat the Basilisk. Thanks for watching. What other Harry Potter secrets do you think are still hidden? And did Alan Rickman's secret make the movies better? Let us know below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more secrets you were never meant to find.